Hey folks, this is Helios. I apologize first of all for not having anything up last week, but I was pretty busy. So this week we are looking at the movie that of course is opening the summer of 2013, Iron Man 3. Obviously a lot of people are very excited about this movie. It broke a lot of box office records over the weekend. And who wouldn't be excited about this movie? This is the first movie for Marvel since the Avengers. And it's going to start us off on the path that will eventually us to the Avengers 2. So, yeah, obviously it's nice to see where it's going. And, of course, other than that, the other big thing about this movie that's got a lot of people interested is this it for Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man? You know, is that it? Is he going to hang up the costume, or mask, or whatever, so to speak? And I can tell you right now, the answer to that is yes and no. First of all, Robert Downey Jr. has stated that he will be coming back for the Avengers sequel and maybe a fourth Iron Man movie because, in his words, there's still a couple things they have to do with the character of Tony Stark. But I think the movie makes it clear that this is probably meant to kind of sort of be the end of the Iron Man story arc in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, it's not saying that he's going to be gone. I mean, go back for the Avengers 2 in some form, most likely. And that Tony Stark, the character of Tony Stark, will still be a presence in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, regardless if Iron Man is there or not. But this movie does make it clear that this is meant to be considered to be the end of the Iron Man story arc. So what do I think of it? Well, I really liked the movie. I don't know if I call it the best of the Iron Man movies. I mean, the whole trilogy as a whole, the movies are all pretty good. I don't think there's one in particular that's better than the others. But for the most part, I really did like it, but there are a couple of things I didn't like, including one thing that I really did hate, which I can already tell from the comment on Facebook. People might agree or disagree on. But anyway, so let's go over what I did like here. First of all, the plot of the movie. The movie is set after the Avengers, and Tony is dealing with a severe case of PTSD, which is a really nice counter-nutter. It shows that what happened in New York, it really did have an effect on him, you know, kind of sort of dying and all that good stuff. And he's been trying to work through it in the form of building a whole bunch of Iron Man suits. A lot of Iron Man suits, much to the chagrin of his assistant/girlfriend, whatever, Pepper Potts. Anyway, so the story deals with Tony fighting a terrorist called the Mandarin, who is launching a campaign of terror against the United States for vague reasons, and is represented by this big, charismatic, Chinese-esque person who is known as the Mandarin. You know, that's the name of the Mandarin. And the movie is about Tony's struggles to stop the Mandarin, as well as, you know, kind of deal with his own issues and stuff like that. And, of course, the roles of people like James Rhodes, War Machine, and Pepper Potts and other characters come into play here. This movie really is more of like a Tony Stark-focused movie, which is really good. It's considerably more darker and dramatic than the last two films. This one is focused a lot more on Tony. You really get a sense of what he's going through, what he's dealing with, and stuff like that. And there's still funny moments. I mean, because, you know, Tony is still the big playboy, philanthropic, genius jerk that he is. But it's not like a laugh ride. It's got a lot of very serious moments here. It doesn't get to the point where it's like Cerberus syndrome, but, you know, it's considerably more somber and serious in tone than the last two movies. But there's still a lot of good stuff in it. The relationship between Tony and Pepper is brushed upon, and also we get some into Pepper's past with the introduction of Adrian Killian, who is the head of this think tank called AIM, or AIM. They got some fancy acronym for the movie, which just get in mind at the moment here. But apparently he was an old flame of hers or something like that in the past, and these two have a nice relationship, which plays in more in the movie. I'll get to that in a bit. War Machine isn't seen too much in this movie, but, well, first of all, War Machine has now officially been named the Iron Patriot by the U.S. government. It's kind of like a sort of a pro-Avengers response to the War Machine armor and hinted in Captain America color scheme, and then calling it the Iron Patriot. Nice little PR move, stuff like that. So he's off doing work for the government now, which is a nice little touch there. So, which unfortunately means you don't get to see too much of him. I mean, he is still in the movie, but he's not really much of a presence until the last part of the movie. But there's still a lot of good moments here from Tony Stark. A couple of my favorite ones in particular was when he has to infiltrate the compound of the Mandarin after he loses a lot of his suits after his home is attacked in a very, very well done sequence, by the way. Very well done sequence, and he has to basically resort to doing what I would call a shameless imitation of Sam Fisher. That is really the best I can do. Tony actually proves that he can be a badass without the suit, which is something that we haven't seen yet in the last two movies. I mean, the last two movies kind of said that, no, without the suit, Tony Stark was just, Tony Stark. And this one shows that, no, he actually does have, he's got some skills, even when he doesn't have his giant robotic death suit on. Also, another thing I like, the big climatic battle at the end of the movie, which features all of the Iron Man suits coming in. Because it's established in the movie that Tony has actually figured out how to remotely control the Iron Man suits, which really comes in handy several times. And the last moment takes it to the logical extreme. You have to see all the Iron Man suits that were ever made, and he's been working on since between the events of the three movies and the Avengers coming in, and it's one big climactic battle. It's really awesome. I'm sure there's a lot of designs there. It's going to get a lot of nerds going nuts. I can't put my finger on them, obviously, but it was still really great. Okay, so that's what I like about the movie. Now I want to talk about what I don't like about the movie, but for me to do that, it's going to involve me spoiling the plot of the movie, more or less. So if you want to back out now, if you don't want the movie spoiled for you, that's okay. In fact, if you're going to do that right now, if you're going to stop watching, I'll just give you really quick who I think will like and dislike this movie. Obviously, Iron Man fans, Marvel fans, going to like this movie. If you like the first two films, you're going to like this one probably. Same thing if you didn't like the first two films. I don't think you can find much about this one. If this is not, I wouldn't say that if you're just getting into the Marvel Cinematic Verse, like if you were, living under a rock for all the movies, everything before the Avengers, don't start with this movie. Start off with Iron Man 1 or 2, and then watch this movie. Because this doesn't necessarily rely on you having to have seen the Avengers, but it does require you, to a certain extent, to have seen one of the first two Iron Man movies. Okay, so again, I'm just going to give you guys some time to exit out in case you want it spoiled. That's all. Okay, now what do I like about a movie? First of all, it's long. It's 130 minutes. The longest Marvel film outside of the Avengers. And the pacing, for the most part, is okay, but it does kind of drag on in some cases. Now, it doesn't, have any blatant padding. I mean, it doesn't feel like that there were scenes that were added in there just for the sake of lengthening the movie. It doesn't really feel like that at all. It keeps pacing pretty good. So, that was okay. I didn't like that it didn't explore Tony's PTSD more in film. I mean, they gave it some references there. They certainly made it clear that he was suffering from what happened in New York, but I kind of wish they would have explored it a little bit more. I mean, aside from one or two scenes, really, it's not really brought up that much. So that was kind of a spot point. And now I want to talk about the thing that I really hate about this movie. And again, it's something that people probably aren't going to agree with me on, but I'm going to say it anyway. The Mandarin. I hated the Mandarin. The Iron Man trilogy, for whatever reason, did not have very good villains. The first one, you have Jeff Bridges, the Ironmonger, which I think the only memorable thing about that whole performance there is when the scene where he yells at the nation where he says, "Tony Stark built this reactor in a cave with a box of scraps." That's basically it. That's all I think I remember that performance. Second movie had Mickey Rourke as Whiplash, which I personally liked because I thought he was just a really cool villain. And then that, what's his name is Justin Hammer, I just found incredibly annoying. Now we have the Mandrian. Ugh. I'm not saying that it's all bad. There is some good stuff here. First of all, Ben Kingsley is playing the Mandrian. And again, he's portrayed as this very mysterious guy who is attacking the U.S. for the vaguest of reasons. I mean, he's launched this epic campaign of terror against the United States, but he never really explains why. He just gives these cryptic messages. First of all, he does it in a really nice way. He hacks into, like, every network television feed in the country, which I don't think is possible, but hey, it's Marvel, it's comic book science, what are you going to do? And he loses all these cryptic messages like, oh, you know, fortune cookies are said to be Chinese, but they're actually American. That's why they're hollow inside and they're full of lies, live a bad taste in your mouth. Which they don't, by the way. Fortune cookies taste fucking awesome. Just wants to point that out right now. But, so yeah, it's just all these cryptic statements where it shows you, it's meant to just, like, give the impression that he's always one step ahead of the game in terms of, you know, the campaign stuff. I mean, he is. I mean, he hacks into the president's phone. I mean, that's just, this guy has connections. And it turns out, and I actually do like this, turns out the Mandrian is a front. The guy playing the Mandrian is actually an actor that they picked up off the street. And that scene is revealed in the most hilarious way possible. It's just, oh my god. Tony literally walks in on the guy about to have a threesome with two hookers. And it's just like, wait a minute. You're the Mandrian? And then Rhodes comes in and says, this guy's the Mandrian? It's just like, it's a really, really great scene. I'm not going to spoil it for you because it's probably one of the more hilarious reveals I've ever seen. But now let's get to the real Mandrian, who is Adrian Killian. Okay. First of all, let's talk about exactly why he's waging this campaign of terror against the U.S. And then we'll talk about why he's after Iron Man specifically. Adrian's think tank, AIM, has created this compound, which is based off of some sort of comic book science-y genetic manipulation, which allows you to regenerate, allows you to regenerate wounds and heal wounds and become a super soldier. And he's been testing it on people who were in the military and who had their limbs or blown off or whatever in the military, you know, so they go back. Unfortunately, the compound has a bad side effect in that, for whatever reason, it turns the people who receive the compound into basically miniature atomic bombs, and unless they get a continued dose or whatever, they eventually blow up. I don't really know exactly what the criteria is for that, but apparently once certain conditions are met, like they don't get the required dose, or they get really fucking pissed off or whatever, they will literally blow up. Now, this compound is supposed to be sold to the military, obviously. And, they realize that it's effective and that it causes people to explode, so they decide to do the logical thing, which is create this terrorist, the Mandrian, to have this, to pass off these explosions of people as suicide bombers in this campaign of terror against America. Okay. I lost words here because this is quite literally the most convoluted and unnecessary cover-up I have ever heard from a movie. I mean, okay, seriously. First of all, if you have run tests in your compound and you show that your compound will cause people to literally blow up, First of all, why are you continuing to even give people the compound? I mean, it's not like they tested out like a dozen people, and it's not just the people that are helping them out. No, it's like 40 or 50 of these super soldiers with this extremists, or whatever they call it, this compound in them. These people, they all know that they could potentially just combust and go frickety boom at any point in time. And now, yes, I realize that AIM is, in the comics, just an evil organization here, and they had to think of something to make a more realistic movie, but still, the fact remains that you're giving people this compound that you know is defective, and you know is going to make them explode, and it's just, why would you do it? I mean, after the first, like, okay, just not like the first dozen people, okay, that's fine. I mean, that's okay. I mean, you gotta see what happens. But then after, like, they all blow up, it's like, I mean, wouldn't you go like something, you know what? If this is causing our people to explode, maybe we shouldn't put this out in the market just yet. And another thing, wouldn't the military have known about this? I mean, these are injured veterans that they're being tested on. The military, this is a military contract here. They've got to know that there's something up with the proceedings. I mean, I understand that, you know, Killian's not going to say to the military, yeah, by the way, there's a very small chance that this compound will cause your soldiers to blow up. Hope that's okay with you. But, I mean, I was not going to say that, but you think that the military, with all the monitoring, they had to know about this project. They had to know it exists, because Tony finds the movies where they test the serum on these soldiers, and sure enough, one of them explodes on a Department of Defense web server or something like that. I mean, the military's got to know that there's something going on here, and they don't decide to put a stop to it and say, okay, look, no, you're fucking crazy. Go away and come back when you fix this thing. And incidentally, that is why they need Tony. Because Tony Stark is the smartest guy on the planet. He figured out how to fix this compound when he was hungover on New Year's Eve in Burd. It makes sense in context. And they decide the best way to get him on board with their little project is to, first of all, blow up his house, then assault him with these super soldiers who, again, are going frickety boom. That's not the other movies. Like, again, they have a lot of people working for these guys. A lot of people that are presumably are injected with this compound. Why would they do it? I mean, okay, maybe they don't know that it's going to blow them up. Maybe. That's a possibility. But after seeing their friend explode, maybe one thing they might say, hey, listen, I don't think this is really a good idea for you to be putting this really dangerous volatile stuff in me. Could you, like, give me an antidote or something like this? I mean, seriously. I mean, just like, there's so many of these people. I mean, I understand the mooks are not supposed to really question their loyalties or whatever, but it just bugs me that these guys are all literally biologically turned into suicide bombers, and they're apparently fine with this. And what's more, they want to stop Iron Man from fixing them and keeping them blowing up. I mean, just what the hell, people? Anyway, now let's talk about why he's pissed at Iron Man. You see, Iron Man's date in Burd, when he figured out how to fix this whole thing, and she was the person who actually pioneered the research into regenerating techniques, and she also knew, by the way, that it would cause things to blow up. I was trying out a freaking planet. The planet exploded. I mean, that's your first clue right there, Sherlock. It blows up a planet. What it's going to do to a human being? She wants Tony on board to help fix this problem, and she thinks the best way to do that is to kidnap Pepper Potts and inject her with a thing to make her blow. It doesn't. However, Killian wants revenge on Tony because Tony blew him off at Burd. See, apparently, when Killian began this AIM think tank, he tried to get Tony on board with, you know, the whole thing of his research, and Tony blew him off. And now he wants revenge for that. Come on! I mean, you're basically... This whole grand scheme here here to, inject people with exploding gene modification and whatever to eventually kill the U.S. president, which doesn't make sense, by the way, because even after the whole thing with the Iron Man and War Machine found out the rules behind the Mandarin, they still go through with the plot. They still want to kill the president, and a Viking funeral, for that matter, and this grandiose way, just like, at that point, dude, everyone knows already. What's the problem here? Why do you still have the whole thing? The whole thing, the key motivation is a hissy fit over being blown off by Tony Stark. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. I mean, how is it possible that you can be a scientist in the Marvel Cinematic Verse and not know that Tony Stark is a certified public asshole? I mean, seriously, at this New Year's Eve party he's at, his name tag says, and I kid you not here, you know who I am. I'm not making it up. His name tag literally says, you know who I am. This guy is a conceited jackass. You were honestly surprised he blew you off? Really? And you're gonna mount this whole big campaign of terrorism all for the sake of a convoluted plot, which actually is a convoluted plot just to cover the fact that you have a shitty product, and you're gonna try to kill Tony Stark because he fucking blew you up. Dude, grow up already! I mean, God, it was 13 years ago! Oh, and there's the fact that he's pissed off that, oh, he had Pepper instead of her, but that doesn't make sense, because he even outright says to Pepper, yeah, you're merely here as my trophy. I mean, okay, I don't really care about, getting Tony to work for me. I just want you as a prize. He literally says this. He literally says to Pepper Potts, he thinks of her as his trophy. I mean, ugh. And then there's the fact that they won't die. Really. This guy Tony literally straps him in the Iron Man suit and blows him the fuck up and he won't die. Yeah. Thank God Pepper Potts killed him. She drove a nail into his face with a club and that blew him up or whatever. I don't know. What the fuck? Hated the Mandarin. Horrible villain. Threw a hissy fit over something that honestly should have been expected. Created this convoluted plot to hide the fact that his product sucks. I'm just so fucking glad he's finally dead. At least I hope he's dead. I hope, I'm sure, the Avengers 2 is gonna have had some way to recombine his ash to make him bring out. So yeah, Mandarin, not a fan. Okay, so other than that, the movie's good. I mean, I just fucking hated the Mandarin, but the movie's really good. So again, who would like it? Again, if you're a fan of Iron Man or the Marvel Cinematic Verse, like this movie. And again, I recommend having seen at least one of the previous two Iron Mans for watching this one. Avengers is not required, but it might help. And again, this isn't necessarily the swan song for Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark, but it is the end, I believe, of the Iron Man story arc. And we'll have to see how, because he at the end of the movie, he actually gets his arc reactor removed and he tosses it into the ocean, which again is kind of like, so this is like the end of the story arc here. I'm sure they'll find some way to include Tony Stark or Iron Man in the Avengers 2, and we'll have to see how that works out. And by the way, the stinger, because you knew it was going to be a stinger at the end. It's pretty good here, actually. The whole movie, Tony's actually narrating the events of the movie to someone, and at the end we see it's Bruce Banner, the Hulk, played again by Mark Ruffalo, and it's just like he's actually dozed off. He defines the story just so boring and stuff that he actually has dozed off. It's just wow. It was actually pretty good. I didn't realize it was Bruce Banner until afterwards, but yeah. Okay, so that's it. If you stay this long, hopefully, again, if you agree with me on my thoughts on the Mandarin or disagree with me, that's totally fine. Just let me know your own thoughts. And I will hopefully see you guys next week. Take care.